Hello, this is Nancy Jean, and I'm so grateful you've come back today. It is Sunday, the 13th of December, and it's a big woo-woo day for me. It is Jupiter is conjunct my natal Jupiter. For those of you who don't keep up with that sort of thing, that's like a whole new birthday. It's like a whole new beginning. It really is a new beginning because Jupiter makes it around about forget how many times. He moves pretty fast, but he doesn't hit this often, and he usually triggers off all kinds of wonderful things, especially when he's absolutely opposite your natal Jupiter. Enough astrology for those of you whose eyes cross and your head falls to one side when you hear those terms. I've been looking through the gardens, the comments coming into the garden, and one of the comments I got was, how do you build a grid? Well, for those of you who saw me on LilacLantern, you know that Andrea and I chose to give away a grid, and we went through the process of picking the right images for the grid. So today I was like, I'm going to build the grid today and put it on camera. Am I going to build the grid tomorrow when I maybe have a little more time and my daughter's not trying to desperately move all of our stuff into the kitchen? She's taking a 20-minute break. That's how long this will go on, because she's 20 minutes. She's come back and putting stuff in the kitchen. Anyway, so what I drew for my inner child cards, my fairy tale cards, ones I love, was I drew Snow White. And I said, okay, today's the day. Because the story of Snow White is really a child's tale pulling together all the images of we need to grow in our spiritual path, which is what Snow White does. You know the story. Her mother pricks her finger when she's pregnant with her and sees her red blood and wants her child to be born with lips that are bright red, dark hair, and lovely light skin. And so she has the baby girl, but she dies in childbirth. And then the dad brings in the evil stepmother. Having been a stepmother, it's not an archetype I like, but what can I say? And brings her in, and Snow White ends up at the age of 7 being left in the woods, which is, if you know anything about 7, that's a number that has to do with spirit. She wanders around the woods and she runs into the 7 dwarfs, which are the 7 ways to spiritually awake. Well, then the stepmother in the original fairy tale tries to kill her 3 times. She sends a merchant to strangle her with a belt, sells her a belt, and the belt gets so tight she can't breathe, which is restriction of spirit. Then that doesn't work. So this evil stepmother disguises herself, comes back out in the woods, and convinces her to buy this comb. Well, in the comb is something that would damage her hair and her head, which is the ego. So now we've done the spirit and the ego. And that didn't work. So then the evil stepmother came back and put her to sleep and left her in complete recline and complete withdrawal. And the 7 dwarfs, grieving for her, they build her a glass coffin, put her out into the light, and from the light and the prince being brought to her, true love breaks through all the barriers, and Snow White wakes up. Okay. But not until she's gone through those trials of body, mind, and spirit. And the conclusion of the person who designed this card says it better than I can. It says, when this card appears in your reading, you're ready to receive the buried treasure of your own wisdom and dwell in the deep caverns of your ancestral past. Just as the 7 dwarfs assisted Snow White by reviving her from the wicked and showering her with gems from caves and mines, you have assisted with your spiritual helpers and guides. This card is a card of service and deep reflection. As you open your heart and soul to the treasures of your own destiny, you will find new opportunities. I thought it was so perfect to talk about the little miners bringing out crystals. So the card we picked that I was to build, I'm basing it on discernment, which is a mandala card from the Sacred Geometry Activations Oracle cards, which are brilliant, beautiful cards. And as you can see, there's lots of blues and things. So what I did is I went to the crystal store yesterday, and I love going to the crystal store. I don't go often because I don't go out much. But anyway, what I came up with was, get these distractions out of the way. What I came up with was, I found, if you saw the card, it's got that bright yellow thing in the middle, and then that's a ring of green and blue. And I found a beautiful bloodstone that had, it's green and it's got a little bit of red and blue kind of colors in it, that had been made into a disc. And it's the only one in the store that had been made that way. This is Bumble Bee Jasper. And I was looking for a piece of yellow calcite, but none of the calcite there would really fit or look appropriate or work with this. So this is kind of what we've done. Okay, now this, I'm turning it around because this is going to be, this top is this, yeah. Okay, anyway, this is the top. So I found this crystal, which I had never seen before, and I don't know if you can see it. It glitters. It almost looks like someone put glitter in it. It's called Specularite, and I'm going to put the names of the crystals underneath. And these have been honed flat, and that's going to be the dark blue on the outside. Now, for the inside, it's a whole gradation. You can't, probably don't show that well because my camera's not the world's best camera, but it's a whole bunch of gradations of different colors of blue. So I'm going to put at the base, I'm putting lapis, which encourages awareness and allows self-expression and reveals inner truth. And I'm going to build a little grid, a little tiny 5-point grid for change and hope there with a bit of citrine in the middle. I bought this yesterday too. Then on one side, I am going to put the Aquamarine. No, I'm going to put the Azurite. There's a lot of stuff here, guys. Azurite, okay. These little blue stones are going to be here. And opposite them are going to be Apatite, which is very similar, but these are shinier and a little more crystallier. But then at the top, I'm going to put Aquamarine. And they're a lovely light blue stone. And if you look at this image, you can hardly see it, but buried in there is a little crystal. And I found a crystal that matches it very much. And it's made from Celestine, which has to do with ascension. So, what are we doing? If you can see that, kind of see what those look like. I'm going to list all the stones that are underneath it. And what I'll do now is I'll sit and I'll play with it and I'll hold these stones. This is where I already decided to place these stones by holding them and saying what fits. Okay, where did I get the grid design for this? There are several books you can buy on Etsy that are downloadable with PDFs, and they're PDFs of grid designs. And you can look at them and decide which one works the best, which works. You can have things like Metatron's Cube, which I've used in a lot of designs because it's very flexible. It's got 6s, it's got 8s, it's got 4s, it's got triangles. So that makes it easier when you're planning your grid out, when you're planning against a given pattern. But anyway, you want to know how I build a grid? So I build a grid. Also, cool, where to go? I always give everyone a wand with their grid to fire it up. And if you watch on LilacLantern, watch for her. She's going to announce it. I'm not sure what day we're going to go when I have this all together and we can show it. I'm going to show this wand. This is actually a quartz crystal that's been heat treated with titanium, and so it has rainbows all over it. It's really pretty. It's one of the only sort of screwed with stones. In other words, they did something to, quote, enhance it that I use. And also the other thing on this little card, notice see those little dots? Those little dots are actually other small circles that are made around this that interconnect. And to create those dots, I got teeny tiny little sunstone chips. So that's what goes into making a grid. You just pick the design and then you go and you find the colors that appeal to you. And I also kind of have a fixed feeling on, I have a spreadsheet that has 400 different crystals and what all their definitions are. Bumble Bee Jasper didn't happen to be in there because I hadn't used it before. So I had to look that one up, but it fits perfectly. And I didn't know yesterday whether it did, but it certainly fits perfectly with this grid, which is we're giving away to the person whose name we pick, because our reading on that person showed they'd been through a lot of trials. They'd been patient. They'd waited to make the move. They are making their moves right now. And there was their out card. The making the moves was the 8 of Cups. They're out of here. The out card was the 8 of Wands. Eights in numerology mean money and prosperity. So this person's heading into a new kind of prosperity. And when we pulled, well, what do they need from the universe? What do they need to understand from the universe to get along better? And we got discernment. And this embodies discernment. So when they get the grid, they will understand how to fire it up. I will also be, when you see the grid in its final form, I will be printing the matrix on this paper because it's blue, 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 and I want it to stay blue, blue, blue. It'll fit in an 8.5 by 10 frame, and the glass will be gone so they can touch the crystals. This will be put together affixed, which means I'll have everything glued together and in the right place. I've actually had one DIY person. We built the grid. When I do a grid reading, I do a reading like the 3-card thing we pulled. Then we go into the activation cards and decide what is the energy you most need to bring in. Then I have to take time to go find the crystals to build it. This particular woman she just gotten into crystals and she wanted to hold her crystals. So I actually printed her grid form on fabric and sent her a map of where I viewed the crystal should go. But now it's up to her. And so she has it set up like in a little meditation corner in one room in her house. Which is what I have when I have my family grid. Unfortunately, like I said, we're moving and my grid is in pieces right now and I need to build my own grid back. When I do that, maybe I'll do another grid building things for those who kind of miss this one. But I've just thrown a world of stuff at you. What I just threw at you, it took me about 8 months to figure out how to do it. And I have gotten comments to the store I buy from in Dallas is called Rock Barrel. It is online. A lot of you have local crystal merchants in your area. I would definitely investigate them because crystals are better. I would never have known to go there and look for this incredibly fun, and it's such a dark blue. I know it looks black on the camera, but it is this incredibly dark, rich blue. I love this. This is a form of hematite, which means it's a grounding. Its base is grounding, but it brings enlightenment. So yes, that's how you build a grid. Also, tomorrow is the 14th. It is the new moon. I've talked to you a little bit in one of the other shows about writing your lunar list, write out your intentions list. Please do that. And also, I bring together a lot of different disciplines and I watch a lot of different people. And there is a numerologist named Perry, and I've watched her. I like her information's good. I studied numerology a long time ago. I studied astrology when you had to draw the chart from an ephemeris because they didn't have computers doing it. That will discourage you from ever studying astrology. But anyway, I followed Anne. Her stuff is great. It always makes sense to me. And right now, her latest piece, she's Anne Perry, Perry, and I'll put her below in the description. She does the most wonderful description of sort of the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction and what it means, what she's seeing and the numbers that mean that, and how you move from a 4-year to a 5-year, and how that emphasizes to each of us how to take the opportunity for change we're being given to do now, how we're each individually responsible for our own change. And I can't emphasize enough to you, when I watched this yesterday, I almost cried because she said what I've been trying to explain to people, but have bumbled across and haven't explained nearly as well. So please jump from here over to Anne Perry. It's only 9 minutes long. It's 9 minutes that will clarify where we sit in the universe and speak to you in an honest voice, and I think really help a lot of people. So if you've been interested in numerology, these numbers all make a difference. There are 1, 2, 3. There are 7 stones in this, which is, and I will write for this person, I'll explain to them all the numbers I used in this. The one, and the one in the middle stone, the one in the Celestine, and then the 7 big stones. And then I'm intending to make little 5 or 6 pointed grids out of the smaller stones with the one, and there'll be 4 citrines in the middle. And I'll explain to them where all those numbers fit and how they spiritually work within this if they want to do it spiritually. If they just like it because it's pretty, that's fine too. I'm happy with that. Anyway, I really cannot thank all of you for subscribing. I think I'm like at 566 when I looked this morning, and that's pretty good because my first video went up a week ago. And I want to thank Andrea for that too, because she sent a lot of people here. Kim from Intuitive View did too, and Sheila and I are from Celtic Tarot are talking about me coming on because I built a couple different grids for her, and I built a compass to try and help her break her her speech block when she's reading the cards. Not that that stops her from reading the cards, but just something to give her an oomph to help with that throat chakra thing. So if you're interested in grids, you're interested in, and you don't want to build your own, or if you're interested in mini compasses, I have those available too. I can do them, either design them for what you want, and it only takes 3 stones, and they're considerably more affordable than the big grids. But that requires a reading, and then my getting the stones together and getting it mailed to you. And it's all me, guys. So I don't got a crew of little 7 dwarfs helping me, let me tell you. So if you're interested in any of that, you can reach me at crystaldirections.nancyjean@gmail.com. You can also go to my website, which is just crystaldirections.com, and look for things there. All that's below in kind of, the comments and whatever. And tomorrow, I think I will be able to make a grand announcement about my life, other than Jupiter transit is on my natal Jupiter, which is all kinds of fun. I've talked about my weight loss, and I think tomorrow, if the scale keeps doing what it's doing, I will explain to you a magic number I am reaching tomorrow, and it is a magic number. And if you want to know about my weight loss, that's what I'm going to talk about, how I use all these things to help me manifest and bring in my weight loss, and to ground and center myself so that I can allow myself to do the things that are right for me. And that's what I want to have for you, unless you want to do the wrong things, in which case that's perfectly fine. That's your path. Anyway, have a good day. I really am glad you came to see me. I hope this helps those of you who've been saying, please, please, how do you build a grid? That's how I build a grid. I don't know how you'll build a grid, but it's always fun to try. And like I said, you can start with this fuse 3 stones that are balanced for the nature of what you want. And if you wonder what crystals do what, there's all kinds of websites about it. Judy Hall wrote a brilliant book. Her books are available through Hay House. And her stuff's really plain and clear. Ethan Lazzarini, who's online, and he's from England, he also pushes out some stuff. Hibiscus Moon, and that really is her name. She's a geologist who got into the spiritual part of crystals, and she puts out some good things too. So there are a lot of other resources, because believe me, but in no means am I like the be all and end all of it, but I'm like everything else in my garden. You're welcome to come here and grow with me and see what we can make happen. Anyway, thank you so much. Please like, subscribe, and share my videos. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.